In the UK, restrictions there in what has been one of the global hotspots are about to be eased in England. For months, people who live there have been told, as we have in Canada, stay 2 meters apart. But that's about to change, one of many measures just announced by the British Prime Minister Boris Johnson. A collective cry of celebration, perhaps. Let's go to Renee Filippone, who is covering all of it live for us. Can you hear the cry from the pubs below there, Renee, as they get set to reopen, I guess? Give us the details on what the Prime Minister's has announced.
You know, Heather, in the House of Commons today, when Prime Minister Boris Johnson got to the part of announcing that pubs were going to reopen, there was an MP in the House of Commons that screamed hallelujah. So clearly some excitement about this big monumental step out of lockdown for the United Kingdom, which has been in this position since mid-March. So along with pubs, there's a list of other things, a very long list of other things that will be able to reopen starting July 4th, and that's museums, galleries, playgrounds, hotels, and hairdressers. Now, in order to make this happen, the government has also had to amend one of its very strong guidelines, as you mentioned, the 2-meter physical distancing rule down to a 1-meter physical distancing rule. Now, there was a lot of lobbying on behalf of the hospitality industry through all of this, particularly pubs and hotels who were saying they just really could not do business by abiding by that 1-meter guideline. So this has been talked about for some time now. And here, have a listen to Prime Minister Boris Johnson talking specifically about that change.
While the experts cannot give a precise assessment of how much the risk is reduced, they judge these mitigations would make 1 metre plus broadly equivalent to the risk at 2 metres if those mitigations are fully implemented. So either will be acceptable and our guidance will change accordingly.
Now, following the Prime Minister, the opposition leader also spoke in the House, saying he broadly supports the decision that the UK government is making, but he does want to look more closely at the science, particularly when it comes to that switch to the 1-meter rule. Now, the number of new COVID cases has been on the decline here in the UK, just 10,000 yesterday and 15 deaths. So there is success because there have been such a huge number of cases in the UK, and the government has said, however, if there are flare-ups again, they will not hesitate to put the restrictions back in place.
Renee, there are some people who are concerned about this change. I mean, as we've said, these are guidelines that we've heard for months. 2 meters, that's the safe distance. So where does this new British guideline fit in compared to other countries?
Well, that's right. And a lot of the critics are pointing to science that says switching from 2 meters to 1 meter could increase the chance of COVID infection by anywhere from 2 to 10 times the chances. Now, some of that science is still obviously in question. And when it comes to the distance between, about the different countries have put in, there are a lot of countries who don't have that 2-meter guideline like Canada and the UK have. If you take a look at the United States, they're at 1.8 meters. A number of countries are at 1.5, including France France is at 1 meter, including Spain and Italy and Greece. And when it comes to 1 meter, China has already moved to 1 meter, so has Hong Kong, Singapore, and that's what the UK is looking at. But what they're really saying here is they're changing things now from legislation to guidelines for the British people and hoping that British people will use their common sense moving forward to make sure that they keep themselves and their communities safe.
Renee, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Renee Filippone is live in London.